Right, good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm excited again today, this morning. I'm just uh, refreshing myself outside here. It looks actually very beautiful outside here. But today I am going to talk. Uh, I'm going to go back to my lane. I think most of the people that have listened or read some of my blogs, um, uh, they, they know that I talk about the money. I have decided to take a subject that has never been sort of taken seriously or studied, and I wanted to look into what really is happening about money, because I wanted so much money that I said to myself, if I want money, maybe if I studied money, maybe I'll get it. And the results are actually very fascinating for me, and I'm actually very excited to share with you what I found out. Now, I found out that economics and money is one subject at all. There's nothing different between them. And I looked into some of the things that is happening, the monetary policy, the fiscal, the terms that they use. And I say to myself, wow, it looks very interesting to me. And I went back to try to look at something that has always been my strength, because in my life, what I've always realized is I didn't. I was just fighting about the things that are in me. If someone tells me about something, I would want to analyze those things. But for a long time, I've been thinking maybe this is my weakness, or this is why I'm not successful, or this is why I don't keep things right. Then I realized that no, let me take this to my advantage. So I went back and studied quite a few things, psychology and a lot of things to understand me. Then I realized that for a person or for a human being or for anything to be authentic, it needs two sides to it, right? I even went on to study about the quantum physics and all those, and I found out that's the thing. Because in quantum physics, they say if you take matter and antimatter, you produce light. If in life, actually in real life, even in physics or in science, if you want to talk about it, if you can just imagine it, what I'm talking about right now is positive and negative gives you light. So for a human being to have sort of enlightenment, to lose burden, because enlightenment is sort of something that you are with burden, you need to have a balanced view of everything. That's when I went on even to look, and they talk about we have got the right leg and the left leg. And I said to myself, wow. So for everything to have a balanced, to be real needs to be, or to be authentic needs to have a balanced view. Then I looked at money, because this is my subject of talk. I'm just deviating a little bit to bring in some sort of science and physics that I learned there. But my main subject is actually money. So I want to bring this concept to money, because in life, there is a sort of, I think it's a philosopher who said, if you try to avoid the unavoidable, it's the beginning of depression. So you will get depressed. So that means there is things in life that we need, but because they don't look good to us, we try to avoid them. So the positive is most of the people want positivity. That's why I even went on to study positive thinking, and I said no, it's not actually true to talk about positive thinking. Positive thinking needs only to be discussed about if we are going to sit down and say, but what are the negative impacts? So you need to have the upside and the downside of the things. So if you have got both the upside and the downside of things, that will take you there to have something that is called even. You become sort of evenness. So you become equilibrium. You become authentic, because you are not fantasizing. Because what is a fantasy? A fantasy is something that you just take only the positives and you run away with it. And what is depression? Depression is also taking the negative and run away with it. But if you are going to not have fantasy and not be depressed, you must be sort of balanced. And that's what I've looked at when I talk about the money. So I looked into the philosophy of money, and I looked into the study of money, and I looked into economics, and I looked into all lot of studies, and I found that something very interesting that I want to share with all of the people that is going to listen to this video. And I would encourage people to also go into my YouTube channel called the Metamorphosis Hub. I've decided to do that so that I can share some of this information with you. Now, money, economics. I found out recently that there is two thoughts in economics. There's actually two theories in economics. There is two things that is happening, but what surprises me is we have never heard about the other side of economics, the other side of money, actually, if I can say, because what we are hearing about is the idea of printing money, the idea of quantitative easing, the idea of this monetary policy that we're having. But I looked back and I understood that there was also the two schools of money. Now, the Kenyans is the one that we are using now, and there's another one called the Australian school of economics. And these guys actually believe in very interesting things when I looked at it. They believe in free market. And I looked into the free market and I said, wow, but this is what we are supposed to be doing in economics if we're going to have to succeed. Then I looked back and I said, but why is it that people are not talking about this subject that is so important to our lives when we are only discussing one thought that has brought us so much trouble and the whole chaos and everything that we are right here is the Kenyans school of thought. Right? They believe in printing money. They believe in printing a lot of money in the circulation and all lot of this philosophy that they have. And I said, but why aren't we doing both? Because I'm not saying that the Austrian school is the right thought. I'm not saying, but what I'm saying is the Kenyan school of thought has already failed. Right? This is the thing that has started over 100 years ago. Right? From 1971, this is the school that has been leading us, but it has also led us to big challenges with the monetary policy that they are using. Because the problem is the monetary policy. Because I can guarantee you right now, in 2008, what happened there was the monetary policy, and right now we are in the middle of chaos again. It's the monetary policy. Right? But why aren't we have both the Austrian school and both the Kenyan thought of doing things? That's my question. So when I looked at the Austrian way of doing things, I found it fascinating, because I said to myself, okay, if we are failing right now and we are following a certain thought or a certain theory, why don't we go back and say to ourselves, what is the other thought? What else can we have? Because we need to have the downside and the upside of things for us to be able to win this game. And the Austrian school led me to very interesting things, and I also read another book by Buckminster Fuller called The Grunge of Giants. And this guy actually mentioned something very interesting to me, that he says grunge is not actually a title. He says it's an abbreviation. That means gross universal cash. He says there is an elite of people that is going to be stealing our money, and this is basically these guys become so powerful. It's an elite people, and they've got a whole lot of their academics. They learn and they convince people, and then but their motive is not to make everybody rich. Their motive is actually to make themselves rich. So that's basically what I looked into, and I said to myself, wow. So for you to be able to be outside of the game, you need to have a free market system where everything else is done the way it should be done. So that's basically what my thought is, and I am going to discuss this further, so that I can elaborate on these two schools of thoughts, and I can elaborate on the grind of giants, what really this guy is saying. Because if you're going to win this game, actually, Buckminster Fuller teaches us that we should actually get out of this grunge system. Right? We should actually be outside of this system. And how are we going to be outside of this system? How are we going to be outside? Because he says these are the guys that structured the monetary policy. These are the guys. So it makes me something wonder and say to myself, why are people still pushing one thought? Is this the grunge that Buckminster Fuller is talking about? But I'm going to elaborate further when I'm on my next video, so that I can tell you guys what I read and what fascinated me about these two schools of thoughts. But I want you guys to enjoy yourselves and have a lovely day today. Let's think about money. Let's talk about money. Let's enjoy ourselves. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day. I love you guys.